What's up, Metashift? Welcome back, everyone, to another stream in our noble division of our Metashift playoffs for this year. I'm your host, Mackie, and it is my pleasure to once again be back with all of you, my Metashift community and those from beyond, to watch another wonderful Fearless Best of 5 between our Fearless teams today, who are going to be competing in our Winners Bracket Finals. Today, we are going to be bringing you the Akreyma Clubhouse. Sorry, not Akreyma Clubhouse. Easy to mix that up. The Akreyma Clubhouse, starting on our blue side today, against TMG Paladins. I did get to see a little bit of both these teams play in the regular season. I'm expecting a pretty long competitive set. We'll definitely have to see which of these two teams have been able to adapt to all of the new changes that have happened to the Rift. With our teams just blazing through Champion Select right here, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, try to analyze a little bit of what the teams might be thinking as we are getting into our first game of our BO5. The Akreyma Clubhouse. Oh, and I also need to update my logos here, as I just realized why that was confusing me so much. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Akreyma. Going to get rid of the Scion right away. Very solid top lane champion. Going to be able to offer you consistent value and is just pretty flexible right now. The Akali, really OP with Gunblade right now. Not really a surprising ban in any series. And the Malphite, much of the same thing. Champion just is extremely high value coming out of the jungle and as a mid and as a jungle top flex. Meanwhile, on the side of TMG Paladins, they are going to be getting rid of the Caitlyn, also one of the more powerful AD carries in the patch in my opinion, particularly in competitive play. Many winning matchups, many flexible build paths, and also just scales to the moon. So, great champion right now. Out of the pool, though. They are going to also get rid of the Nico, who I also think is a very powerful champion right now. I don't think she's really been unseated from the kind of places where you might like to pick her since last season. So, Nico going to hit the ban table, and LeBlanc also going to hit the ban table. This is a champion I've been seeing cropping up a little bit, and I've been kind of surprised to see it. Obviously, it is touted as a very lane-dominant champion, and with an increased amount of side laning in the game, you definitely do expect LeBlanc to be doing a little bit better than she might be otherwise. But that being said, all of those champions will be removed, obviously, in the first round, and Akreyma Clubhouse will be beginning with their Gwen first pick. Gwen, also a flex champion right now, being able to pick in the top, being picked in the top lane or in the jungle. Very good with the new Dusk and Dawn, and still able to build things like that Nashor's Tooth and the Rabadons and just scale to the moon. Good duelist as soon as she hits that level 6, just is able to cause a lot of problems. So unsurprising to see this champion picked up relatively early for Akreyma. Meanwhile, the Paladins are going to be picking up Jax, who's a pretty reasonable answer to Gwen. Even if Jax is not laning directly into Gwen, Jax does have the ability of being able to, as I say, check the Gwen at the front door when she tries entering a team fight. You need champions that are able to basically stand inside of Gwen's shroud and beat her down. And Jax is actually one of the few champions who can kind of manage that. So I do like the Jax pick, and Jax himself is also, again, as you will see a recurring theme, a top jungle flex. Going with the Orianna is also very smart. The champion has a lot of nice jungle pairings right now. Very solid lane phase, good scaling, a lot of the same profile of the champions that have been banned. But the Orianna is pretty easy to build a composition around, as she does have all of those aspects about her. I do really like the answer into the Orianna being the Galio. I think Galio also a nice read for the meta from Akreyma. Galio really good into high magic damage compositions as always, but the new mid lane boots are just kind of so absurd on him. He gets a massive magic damage shield between his W and the Merc Treads. He basically becomes completely immovable from the mid lane, and then the champion obviously offers an incredible amount of utility, and the champion also thrives in side laning environments where he's able to hold his own inside and then very easily rejoin his team. And on top of all of that, Galio has a very nice dive friend with Gwen, just diving into the back line, putting a shroud over herself, and then creating an even greater area of control with that Galio ultimate diving over the top. Akreyma will also round out the rest of the utility of their draft with that Jhin. I personally prefer Jhin when you have poke threats on your team, but if you have reliable crowd control, the W can obviously be a very nice way to extend crowd control once those crowd control champions on your team get in range. So in this case, it'll be like the Galio W and the Alistar combo. The response to the Jhin for the side of TMG Paladins will be that Corki. Corki's interesting right now because he's by no means a weak champion, though I have been watching a little bit of competitive recently, some pro. Corki just seems to have a lot of range issues in certain games, and the champion also just seems to not be able to pump out as much damage as things like Yunara, which has been very heavily prioritized in competitive professional leagues. But Corki, the reason he's being picked so much is because he represents a lot of flexibility in his ability to be able to play different lane states. Prod is always... Sorry, I'm messaging my teams. After draft has begun. Go ahead. Okay, Corki is able to really pursue winning lane matchups because of his early game sort of all-in profile. He's also able to just sort of weak side if he has to in certain games because his wave clear is pretty good. Really, Corki's only big disadvantage is range. His scaling isn't even bad. It's just hard for him to sometimes access his damage because his auto attack range is so low. In this game, you see this Corki Jhin matchup. Both teams are already kind of thinking to themselves, okay, what support matchup do we need? So that way the Corki isn't able to just dive freely on top of the Jhin. Corki definitely wins those kinds of trades, but Jhin has a lot of lane pressure himself with the right support pairing, making it very hard for Corki to be able to commit safely without actually just losing all of his HP. So, after picking our AD carries, our mid laners, and our top jungle flexes between our two teams, we move into the second round of bans, in which the Akreyma Clubhouse is going to remove the Nautilus, which is a solid engage condition, which the Paladins draft sorely misses in the first three champions. It also is a nice champion to pair next to that Corki, so that way he's able to engage freely in lane. Additionally, removing the Ornn is going to be... just something that the Paladins could pick on R4 if they wanted to be able to preserve support pick. Meanwhile, for TMG Paladins, again, trying to recognize the champions that you might want to pair next to Jhin that are going to repel any sort of potential all-in from the side of the Paladins Corki. Karma and Bard both supply a pretty good amount of utility on top of being able to offer a lot of damage. So if you kind of commit past them, they can kind of mess up your AD carry on the ones anyway. And I might be moving pretty quickly into game here, as I don't know if there's actually any spectate delay when the teams set the custom lobby to blind pick, no delay. So we'll have to see if we're just jumping straight into game here. And if that's the case, I'll just kind of round out my thoughts for this draft. The Alistar Rel matchup definitely is signaling that the Jhin Alistar just wants to be able to absorb pressure in the bot side and deny the potential engages from the TMG Paladins. The big weakness of Akreyma's draft overall being that they lack ways of being able to engage, but they do have a lot of ability to be able to control neutral space between the two teams, which is also something that leverages nicely into Zehen's profile. Gwen and Zehen are definitely the champions that are going to be the stars of the show for the Akreyma draft. Being able to allow these champions to ramp up over the course of a fight, being able to hit whoever they can, in particular something like the Rel this game, is going to be something that serves the Akreyma Clubhouse very well. Other things that they should be able to load up on, get their stacks on, and be Jax to a limited degree. Obviously, Jax is able to sort of do all these champions within a team fight fairly effectively. And this Trundle champion is an interesting pick because I think Trundle's relatively weak at the moment, mainly because the champion has a very nice early game profile, and then I just don't know what role Trundle really is able to serve in a team fight. He's just not one of these fighters that's extremely durable, and he isn't really like this kind of champion that can like dive your backline and really cause a lot of problems. It's like he's sort of about the profile that you'd want, or the kind of profile you'd love for a Trundle would be something more like a Jax, Gwen, or Zaheen, but he just doesn't achieve any of those things. In this game, at the very least, Trundle will be there to be able to ult the Galio. I do wonder if Trundle's not just supposed to be like a Triforce into a full tank type of champion these days, though, but then, you know, why play Trundle? I mean, here as an R5 pick, I don't know what exactly is the main objective for him in this game. We're going to just have to see how the Paladins want to try to use this Trundle. I'm pretty surprised to be seeing Trundle as the R5 here. Looking at TMG's draft overall, they holistically do have a little bit more like natural go buttons. I just don't know if they're strong enough given the amount of disengage that's available on Akreyma's draft. So I think for this game, I'm favoring the Akreyma Clubhouse on the blue side for game 1. We'll just have to see how things play out though. As our spectator delay is now coming to a close, we will soon be into game. Alright guys, let's get a little bit of a name check here. Dwami Poppy on the top side on the Zaheen against, waiting for my outblade to move so I can actually see the other top laner's name. As we are getting a little bit of a level 1 scrap in the bot side, Kraydog already showing his aptitude to understand what he's got to do into this rel, just dropping that Alistar Q on top of the rel engage. But as I was saying, TMG Cone on the Jax for the Paladins. Already both blue wards used immediately in these side lane brushes sometimes can open you up to some unexpected early gank opportunities, as Hexify just sort of tanks that Jhin 4th auto attack to the face a little bit. Definitely seems that Hexify and Rel are very interested in actually taking a lot of conflict this game. Honestly, I didn't even notice that Kite used their flash there. I probably should have observed that, but I'm just now noticing. Kraydog right on top of the play, not too concerned about whatever has to be done to mitigate this Rel's potency in the lane phase. This is one of the reasons why people do enjoy Alistar into Rel in general, is just because of his multiple ways of being able to actually deny the Rel from being able to do anything. Though Hexify and Rel getting the level 2 first in this lane is going to mean that Kraydog is going to lose the majority of his HP, but between having a heal, 2 pots, as well as his passive, I do think the Alistar is going to be just fine in this lane phase. A little surprised to see Dwami running the grasp this game, as Akreyma Fluke is going to go in and trade up onto Knight 1 just a little bit here. The very early stages of the matchup can definitely be where Orianna can take advantage of the Galio. Most of the time, mages just get a little bit too mana-gated, as we go -1 in the cannon right there. They get a little mana-gated as far as their ability to be able to kill their opponents more so than anything else. But Galio really as a champion, of course, is like extremely survivable, and when he starts getting the magic resistance is when he starts becoming pretty unkillable. But the early stages, he definitely can be vulnerable enough to kill, though Knight running the phase rush instead of something like the Aerie or the Comet definitely means that they probably will not be able to actually secure a kill onto the Galio. But what I was going to say about top lane here, as TMG is going to just trade some CC with Dwami. Calls him TMG, I'll have to try to remember to call him Cone. But the Grasp is just a much more powerful laning rune. Conqueror does scale a lot better and fits some champions' profiles, as the Rel is going to try to find their engage right there. Kite is going to get saved by Kraydog, who's doing a wonderful job on the Alistar. Pleb is going to get CC'd up underneath the turret, and this guy is just going to be dying immediately. He flashes backwards, trying to finish off Kraydog, but that's actually going to go over to him before he even has to really do anything. So kind of just going to be a little bit of a sloppy play for the side of the Paladins, but it's going to be okay for them overall. At least is going to be able to get some of the summoners off of Kraydog in the process. But a kill going over to Kite is probably not what they wanted to see there. Nice W from the Jhin to make sure that Pleb is not able to actually escape that play. See the Gwen immediately going for a Dark Seal here. A little surprised, as I really thought that Dusk and Dawn was far too important to do big deviations inside of your itemization. I thought that that item might just be a little bit too important in order to even consider doing things like going and stopping off for that 350 gold Dark Seal, but Aftermoon in this case is going to decide that it's actually going to be worth doing. Could be, especially if they're able to snowball with some of those early kills and not die. Knight also going to get CC'd up here and is going to lose a lot of their HP, but 2 tanks is not going to be enough to be able to actually finish off an Orianna. Knight also notably going for the tier Dark Seal setup themselves. So probably will just be that Seraph's Orianna, maybe just wanting to be able to be survivable enough to be able to stomach some of the damage from Dwami and Aftermoon this game. Certainly so, Knight will be tanky enough to be able to survive the likes of an Aftershock Galio, who most likely will be going for some tankier options this game. Though, as I say that, Fluke is going to just have that Amp Tome in their inventory. Maybe a Proto Belt is what we're going to be seeing out of Fluke this game. Sometimes you just do see the Hollow Radiance, but considering that Trundle is the jungler he's against, that might not be the case. Both teams kind of jostling for position around that dragon right now. I think the side of the Paladins not entirely sure where Aftermoon is. They definitely could have started that up knowing that they had a 4v3 on that side of the map. As Knight is kind of getting pieced up by Fluke right now. Fluke is definitely nothing to be trifled with on this Galio. He does plenty of damage with just pure base damages in an Amp Tome. Very easy to underestimate Galio in that way. And so for right now, Fluke kind of exploiting a lack of matchup knowledge for Knight, who's going to lose their face right there and is going to have to use those home guards to be able to make their way back onto the map pretty quickly now. The other side of the Paladins, once again, didn't want to go for anything there. Kraydog is going to go for a combo, and then Kite is just going to chill. Not going to actually be able to find too much of a trade right there. Hexify, though, going to have to force a base here. Corki has a lot of mana issues in the early stages of the game. This is one of the reasons why historically people haven't really wanted to go Essence Raver on the champion. You just kind of don't feel functional as Corki until you get your mana. So you either have the option of building a tier, going Mana Immune, and feeling more functional much earlier, or going Essence Reaver, which is going to take you a lot longer to get, but you're going to feel much more, again, functional in lane earlier than a tier would. Sorry, I can't speak. Knight is going to be getting caught out here a little bit by Fluke, who's going to find the Justice Punch, and it's going to just barely miss onto Knight. As play is back into the play, Fluke is going to be running away with no cooldowns, as Rel is looking to try to line up their own play. Kraydog is going to go first, and Aftermoon is going to start and opening up with the Gwen ultimate. Hexify wants to be able to try to find their key targets here, as Kraydog is going to be going down immediately. Aftermoon is now out of Shroud time, and that's going to be two kills going over to the side of the Paladins at the same time that the Dragon is going to be going over to the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse. Kind of hard to call exactly who won that situation. Let's see who got those kills. A kill going over to the Orianna and the Corki definitely is ideal if you are the side of the Paladins. Meanwhile, the side of Akreyma Clubhouse, not too beat up with the fact that they were able to at least secure this Hextech Dragon for themselves. Let's look at it this way. It's 25 ability haste and 25% attack speed across the whole team. It's okay. It's not bad. A little faster on your Jhin. A few more Ws, if you will. In any case, relatively close trade overall. Sometimes in those situations, you just have to see what kind of key summoner spells were burned. As Cone is going to go in on Dwami, Rel is going to be making their pass on the top side, but Dwami definitely will not be going down here. Having the grass proc and all their spells still available means that Rel is spending a lot of time away from bot lane. The consequence of this being generally that it makes your support quest finish a lot slower. Kraydog is going to be looking for their own play though, as the Justice Punch is once again going to miss on to Knight. Knight is just going to trade back a little bit as everybody's getting ready for this Grub fight on top side. Grubs have been definitely a little bit weaker this year and a bit more deprioritized by the majority of teams, but these teams are not normal teams as both of them are bringing nearly everybody to go for a fight. Rel finds the first stun and the Aftershock is already down as Aftermoon is going to get caught out, but it might be okay because of the Shroud. But the Jax flashes forward and now it's going to be a matter of the turn from the blue team. How much can they really get done here as the Zaheen is going completely crazy? Dwami just needs to be able to connect on anybody as he is the most powerful champion here by far. The Jhin has also made their way over and it's going to just supplement what Dwami has already been able to do in the fight. And now Dwami is going to try to run down Cone, who used the flash to go in on the Gwen. Dwami kiting, gliding, doing a pretty good job right here of making their way back into the fight, no longer having stacks, as Kite is going to start dueling with Hexify as the rest of his boys try to finish off the fight on the other side right now. I do believe that Knight is going to not be able to finish off that teleport. A bit of a gambit right there, and it's not going to pay off as both AD carries also back off the play, and once again the Corki is just completely out of mana. Ooh, both AD carries flashing simultaneously there, so Kite just doing a better job of both rotating to the play and then out-dueling Hexify on the side. Who got the Herald? Did we? Oh wait, it was Grub fight. Duh. How many grubs did we get? Just one grub. The whole thing just came to blows instead. Definitely was a very nice fight for Dwami right there, who was just looking completely berserk on the Zaheen. Looked good for the red team at first, for the Paladins at first, as Aftermoon immediately went down. But Dwami did just get that opportunity to stack up on those early melee champions, and the continuous damage just wasn't really available for the side of the Paladins with the Jax, the Trundle, and the Orianna. Now we're going to be back on the Grubs as Pleb is going to be able to find a Grub for their own team. Dwami and Fluke are both here. Pleb going to go down, and Dwami's just going to collect another kill for themselves. TMG Cone's just going to try to use this opportunity to get a shove out. I just feel that it's not worth it to do that. I think a lot of us... as an engage is going to happen right here, but this will probably become a whole lot of nothing. I think junglers are kind of programmed right now to try to take away like one grub, because that was like kind of really important to do in the last season. It's not that important to do this season. I think in general, personal opinion, not really that important to actually have to do when you're... Or not so important that you should die for it, basically. I think like being able to clear the rest of your camp, stay on the map, not get over gold is probably more important than taking away that one grub. But Pleb is going to do that for his team at the same time that Dwami now is going to be trying to stack up their passive once again. Should they be able to get everything, they are going to get the revive, as Pleb is realizing he's got to get the hell away from Dwami. He's level 7 Trundle. This is part of the issue with dying a little bit too much in the early stages. He's level 7 to level 10 on Dwami, and Dwami was just basically beating down Cone and saying, okay, if you guys want to go 2v1, we can do this right now. I'll get my stacks, I'll get my revive, I'll take you both on. And Dwami does just that as he continues to reassert his control on top side. Zaheen's been looking quite strong to me recently on a lot of the games I've been viewing. As you can see, Knight is doing a whole metric nunton of damage to Fluke. Galio just way too tanky for this Orianna to reasonably be able to craft through right now. Literally just a Merc Treads Orianna, just has a couple of measly supplemental AP items, finally able to at least get her Lost Chapter, but even then, the number of rotations that Orianna will need to be able to break through this Galio is just laughable. As we are going to get an attempted dive right here from Dwami. Say attempted, more like easy. Dwami just going to take on Cone in the side lane. Right now, I think Zaheen is going to become a little bit of a problem this game. Corki finally able to finish off his Essence River means he should be feeling a little bit better about his options to be able to trade in lane. Though Dwami, in short order, is going to be removing this top lane turret from the map. That's going to be the first turret of the game. Another cool 450 in his inventory is crazy. Oh my goodness. That's a 2k gold lead on top side. I'm thinking that Dwami is going to be having themselves quite the game right now, as Kite is going to do a good job of going ahead and canceling the enemy's recall right there. Rel definitely going to have to, you know, just stomach being stopped by Kite for a second there. Everybody obviously always is infuriated by it, but so little you can do about it right now. Rel going ahead and pinging out all the shutdowns on the opposing team. One of the things that we have been seeing is that comebacks still feel very possible in League. Long gone are the days that it feels like it was entirely impossible to come back. Dwami going to be fighting with Kone on top side. Lots of red pings coming out onto the Zaheen, but I don't know if that's a worthwhile fight, as Knight is going to get CC'd up by the Alistar Jhin combo. A fourth shot will be saying goodnight to Knight, as Aftermoon is rolling up to be able to help Dwami. Dwami is going to go back in, dropping the Zaheen ultimate. Is going to go down, but ultimately I think Aftermoon should be able to clean up Kone here on the backside of this fight. Does Kone have a ward? Yeah, he actually did bring a pink ward. Aftermoon is going to give chase, but will not be able to ultimately secure the kill onto Kone. So just a 1-for-1 on top side, as Fluke is just going to Proto Belt away from the engage of Hexify, and is just going to nullify some of that aggression on bot side. Still, I think overall on top side has to be a decent play for Kone and Pleb, as being able to get any kill onto Dwami was going to be a big deal there, besides the shutdown, just in trying to slow this guy down a little bit. Sometimes when you do have a gold lead, you're 3-0, you're feeling quite strong, you get a little bit ahead of yourself. I really think sometimes you just need to like not assert yourself so much until you have an item completion. As an engage happens here, the Galio ultimate is going to come here to try to mix it up, as the red members are just getting pounded and bounced up multiple times. Fluke is now going to try to get away, as Plave is going to try to finish him off, but this guy still has his flash available, though Hexify will eventually be able to find the Galio. 1-for-1, Corki taking Galio and Zaheen taking Trundle. Going to be a relatively even play overall, but the second dragon of the game going over to the blue team right now means that Akreyma Clubhouse definitely feels like they are well. I believe that's Akreyma, right? Yeah, Akreyma definitely going to feel like they're in control. Knight going to be able to find the shockwave onto Jhin, but ultimately not be able to kill him. The fourth shot also wouldn't kill Knight right there. Jhin maybe should have waited for the move speed to fall off of Orianna's spell right there, but you know, just took his chances being able to look for Knight underneath their own turret. Kone, at the very least, I think has been able to close a lot of the distance. Oh, not even a lot of the distance on this gold lead that Dwami has. It's still right about 2k, just under it now. But at the very least, TMG Kone has been able to find enough gold to be able to set themselves up for relative success in the game overall. As long as your Jax is getting some gold, he will still function as a champion, even if he's not as powerful as Dwami is this game. Unfortunately, I'll have to be right back, guys. Sorry. Okay, so sorry guys. One of the disadvantages of casting from home is that you do get interruptions. For my own sake, I am going to back things up here for this team fight. So we are going to watch this back just one more time. Surprising that the red team is able to win this team fight, considering that Akreyma looks well in control of the game up to this point, though they are looking quite split, and Dwami is on a recall. Kraydog is going to get caught out immediately, and is going to try to disengage the play as Aftermoon wants to be able to finish off the dragon. Kite is going to open the curtain call early, but is going to get jumped on by Cone, so that's a horrible opening to the fight so far, as the Galio ultimate is able to find absolutely nobody. Cone is looking very tanky as he goes and tries to load up his next counter-strike. The Rel is able to find a stun onto 2, and now the Galio taunt is not able to do all that much, as it's just a tanky Galio in the back line soaking up so much damage, but eventually will just be going down as the third dragon does go over to the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse, which is very good. So I think overall still a good fight for Akreyma, as they are able to secure that third Drake and only really lose their support staff, Akreyma, Fluke, and Kraydog, the only two to ultimately go down there. And if there's any two members of the team that you're willing to give up in a play, it's probably them. Though, being able to win the ensuing fight does mean that this Herald is sort of open right now for the red team. Dwami is going to have to be a little bit careful right there, as you can see, once Hexify is able to find the range to be able to hit something, he does still have quite formidable damage, even able to bring Dwami down just in a single rotation of his quirky spells and his auto attacks. Though Hexify is stepping up here, that's kind of crazy. He's going to look for the W onto Kite. He might be able to finish him off, and it's going to be a good play from Hexify overall. Kraydog now stuck in the front line, though Aftermoon is here first before any of the red team members are able to rotate, and so Pleb will be going down also. Probably a good independent play there for Hexify, but Pleb probably just didn't really need to get involved there. So overall, that is still just going to be a shutdown for Hexify onto the Jhin, which is going to be good news as far as you're concerned if you are the Paladins, as you do need this quirky to be quite strong in order to be able to win the game. But still, overall, a losing play. Favorable for Akreyma as a result of the 2v1 and the turret going down. Okay, 1 second again. Okay. Both teams loading up onto topside right now, as Kraydog is going to be engaging immediately onto the Rel. Pleb is going to be quite healthy here, but is going to be getting shredded down pretty quickly, and now is going to be dying immediately. Rel is going to be going in onto Kite and Aftermoon on the backside, and Hexify is now looking for the moment, is able to finish off the enemy 80 carry. But now what's going to happen is Zahina now has the opportunity to be able to open up on whoever they'd like to, and Knight really is just utility-oriented Orianna, and so it's not going to be enough to be able to actually finish off anymore on the play. Dwami just going to be flashing forward, trading with Knight, as once again a lot of the main members of Akreyma Clubhouse continue to win out on these team fights and continue to stack the gold in their favor. It might look like only a 3k gold lead, but right now you can see how desperate it is for the side of the Paladins to be able to actually just win these fights. It just involves Hexify having to commit so far in order to be able to find a single kill onto a key member. Meanwhile, as Hexify is diving into the backline, basically 1-for-1 against the enemy Jhin, it's just allowing the opportunity for Aftermoon and Dwami to be able to just load up on whoever they can. In this case, the Rel found a really nice engage on 2 people, but where is the follow-up really? With Hexify dying so quickly and the Orianna Shockwave not doing all that much damage, it's hard to imagine a situation where they can win. Right now, they're trying to find something, though, as they recognize the blue team is a little bit slow on resets, but right now, it just seems like Akreyma is a little bit more aware of what has to happen on the map, as their entire team just gets the hell out of dodge and manages to be able to find the resets in spite of the fact that the red team is just pursuing them, trying to find some off-tempo picks, but it's just not going to be enough, as right now Akreyma is definitely looking like they're in control. Going to have another team fight immediately starting right now as the Rel is going to try to get out. They're not going to be able to, so they're going to cast their ultimate. Dwami going to go into the backline and basically one-shot Hexify all by themselves. Still has the revive available, not really requiring much of anybody to be able to finish off the rest of that play. Kite also to boot, going to be able to find themselves a double kill in that skirmish right there. See, even just trying to find a little bit of space around that 4th dragon, just the Akreyma Clubhouse is able to pull the trigger whenever they'd like to. The composition typically is pretty low on engage, but in a game when they're so far ahead, it just allows your fighters like this Gwen and the Zaheen to be able to use the chaos to their advantage so greatly. This is pretty much the only thing that you would probably think that the Trundle is useful for this game, which is basically just ulting Fluke, but Fluke right now is going to be perfectly fine, not take all that much damage, and then just be able to cast the Zhonyas. I mean, I hate to say it, and I don't want to be that guy, but the Trundle is just looking absolutely useless. I was wondering what the purpose of the champion was when picked an R5 for the Paladins, but unfortunately my worst fears are coming to fruition so far as this champion is involved. It just looks like it doesn't even manage to be able to do the basic responsibilities of what you would hope a Trundle is capable of achieving. So for right now, it definitely just feels like a deficit, and that the Akreyma Clubhouse is just continuing to climb in power, now able to secure that 4th dragon and the Ocean Soul for themselves. You imagine that the team should be turning their sights on that Baron, picking that worm out of the ground as soon as they can will be their next priority. I think unfortunately, once again, the only way that the Paladins are going to be able to find a way back into this game is by virtue of Hexify having a monstrous fight somehow. It just feels like it's asking a lot to be able to take on things like this Gwen and Zaheen. I think in general, crit marksmen are very powerful, but Corki just feels a little different. His damage comes out slower, and it's a little bit less constant than other crit marksmen. So it's harder to imagine Corki just completely taking over a game by themselves. But that's what Hexify has to do here, in light of the fact that Knight just doesn't do any damage with his Orianna build. Kraydog is going to go in, pop the ulti and the Aftershock, and the Rel should be going down in short order here, as Justice Punch does land. The 4th shot from the Jhin ultimate will as well. And now we can see how Hexify is going to be able to fight Aftermoon, and the answer is that it's not a fight at all. Aftermoon just basically one-shotting Hexify with a single auto attack, and why play a crit marksman when you can be a Gwen and have all the luxury in the world of the damage with the power of being able to be immune. Aftermoon going to be able to just start on this Baron with the rest of his boys as Dwami manages Cone in the side lane. You're going to see that Fluke is going to converge onto the Trundle Orianna in mid, trying to make sure that there's really no realistic opportunity for a counter push for the side of the Paladins. Fluke is going to be able to find a taunt on that Trundle, who's very desperate to try to make anything happen. Could just be a chase onto these red team members. Jhin definitely looking to try to find it. He has the Stormrazor movement speed, and Dwami definitely has the angle. The W and the pullback from Dwami are definitely going to go a little bit wide there, but as you can see, the Aftershock, the Shockwave, not going to do a whole lot. Dwami going to secure another side lane tier 2 for themselves, at the same time that the horde of Akreyma Clubhouse members are going to be charging down mid. Kite is going to drop a 4th shot into the Corki, but now Plave is going to try to find his moment. Going to go forward onto Kite, but you can see the amount of shielding that comes through onto the Jhin the moment that anybody threatens his life in this position. Knight is going to try to clear a wave, the bot wave, since that mid tier 3 is really not going to be standing for much longer. Kite going to load up a 4th shot, and it's just going to go down to a couple more snips from Aftermoon on the Gwen. Blue team definitely considering how far they can really push this. The game should basically just be endable right now, but I don't think the Baron's lasting all that much longer, as the Jin's curtain call is going to be open. This could be the final scene of the first game, as now a double knockup from the Alistar is going to be loading up the rest of the Akreyma Clubhouse. Hexify is going to be trying to find range on anybody they can, but all they can find is an Alistar. Alistar is not going to be taking enough damage to be able to die just yet, as Cone is going to try to push forward, and Knight is going to actually be able to finish off the Alistar with a little bit of the burn from the Leandries. Moon is going to be getting very low here, but Kite is going to be able to help them finish off the Jax, who ran out of Counter-Strike time. Now Kite going to be trying to find their moment themselves as this Ocean Soul is ticking on all of these low health members of the Akreyma Clubhouse. It's just going to continue to mean that this game is inching closer and closer to its inevitable end. Dwami Poppy going to be just looking for a little bit more damage on that damage chart. Kite going to be just zoning off Hexify as the Nexus is finally open. Rel's going to respawn for one final glorious charge, find a stun onto Kite. Kite dropping the 4th shot onto the Corki, who weaves out of the way, but Dwami Poppy going to be enough to just finish off Hexify as Aftermoon understands the assignment. Going to finish off the Nexus, and that will be the first game of the series going over to the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse. And today I actually have post-game stats, so let's do that really quick. Shout out to Hexify, who did everything that they could in a losing effort to be able to try to find a way back into that game. Definitely had a couple of heroic moments there, diving forward. But, you know, as you kill the Jhin, unfortunately, it just means that the rest of the fight is being opened up to Dwami Poppy and Aftermoon. Those guys did a great job on their carries. And, you know, shout out to Kraydog. Did a good job on the Alistar as a counter to Rel. And Fluke filled in all the responsibilities. So, good game 1 win from Akreyma. Going to go and start getting us ready for our second game. So I'm going to take us to a brief intermission, and as soon as I'm done there and the second draft is underway, I will be right back. Welcome back, Metashift, to game 2. Double checking who's going to be blue this game, because I need to actually know. TMG is blue. Okay, no. Okay, so we are switching sides here. Word. Make sure my scoreboard updates. Nope, of course it's not. Sick. Okay. So, I think better drafting from Akreyma game 1 was a big part of the responsibility of why they were successful that game. The Zaheen looked really good. The Trundle looked pretty poor. This game, we're going to see a lot of similar bans. Nico Caitlyn once again being removed by the Paladins. But this time on the blue side, they're going to remove the Syndra instead, maybe signaling what they want to pick in their mid lane. Akreyma going to be getting rid of the Akali and the Scion, which is, again, a duplicate ban of the first game. The Echo is going to be removed this game, as I think that they're probably reading that The Paladins might have wanted to pick that first. Echo, much like Gwen right now, is just absolutely insane with the Dusk and Dawn item. Though I have not been seeing him a lot in competitive, definitely around this level of play, there's a lot more plausibility in being able to make carry champions work. Mbessa, continuing to be strong since last season, is going to be rolling up onto the top side for the Paladins. Varus is really interesting. As someone who plays Varus a lot myself, I think the champion is really weak when he's being played as anything other than AP. That's my take. Maybe a hot one. But the champion just doesn't really feel like his on-hit builds allow him to be able to actually play in his auto range very safely, and his lethality builds just fall off a cliff. The lethality builds can be okay, but your team needs to be really ready to play around it and be able to leverage it, because if you make it past a certain point of the game, you know, you just run out of damage entirely on the champion. But we'll have to see how Akreyma is able to use the Varus. Interesting to see it, just because pretty much everyone's given up on the champion altogether. Akreyma, though, going to go for the tried and true Azir. You know, not too much to be said about the champion. He's just always good. Just a perfect champion, a perfect mid laner. And the Akreyma Clubhouse is going to be utilizing them, hopefully, to good effect this game. As the Paladins are going to be picking up their Aphelios, which is understood to be one of the little bit more fringe, but a good champion on the patch. He was hotfix nerf at the very beginning of the season because he was a little bit too strong. Now he's just landed in a good position, but not too much more to say than that, as the champion has a decent lane phase, scales pretty nicely, but otherwise still has some of the same limitations and vulnerabilities that Aphelios always has had, I should say. The Paladins also going to finish off the top 3 of their draft with that Leona. Mbessa Leona, pretty nice combination. Going blind Leona is interesting because Braum is open, but Akreyma not going to go for anything like that, is going to just go for the Malphite instead. The Malphite is going to, of course, be something that was banned in the last game. An extremely powerful top jungle flex. If it's a good top matchup, send it top. And if not, it's a wonderful jungler. And he has very few big limiting factors there. Champion is nerfed next Wednesday, but it is not going to necessarily remove him from the meta. Just going to make him a bit more bearable. Right now, the champion's ultimate cooldown is just way too low. He just does a little bit too much damage. So good pickup for Akreyma, as now the Paladins are going to recognize that the Braum is still available. Going to go ahead and remove that, as it is a very good champion into what they have drafted thus far. Honestly surprised to see Akreyma go for the Malphite over the Braum, as the Braum debatably is better in that spot than the Malphite, but nonetheless, both are good options, I would say. Akreyma going to remove the Sylas, as that could be a potential champion you can pick to try to attack the Azir very early, and the Ornn going to be something that is removed, so that way TMG can't consider picking it, I suppose, for a flex, because obviously you'd have to move the Mbessa. Also, TMGP is going to once again remove the Karma, as they did in a previous game, but maybe not something that would be as realistic for Akreyma to pick here. The Maokai going to be the pick for the Akreyma Clubhouse. Maokai is something that I have been fiddling around with a little bit too, as a support and a jungle. I think it's a little squishy on support, but the thing is with it is that it always offers consistent team value through the E, through the R, and through good situational Ws. So Maokai, just a huge floor raiser as far as a lot of compositions are concerned. The Paladins now having to continue to figure out where most of their DPS is going to come from. Is Talia good this game? Meh. Not really. It's okay. It's very vulnerable to Malphite. It's vulnerable to Varus. It's just okay into Azir, and it's not good into Maokai. So I'd say that's not a particularly good Talia game. The champion is generically strong. Not generically strong, just generically good. But definitely this is not like a maximum effectiveness type of Talia game. You really want games where you either have a really strong side laner you want to play through, or your E just gives you insane value. And Bess is weird because she's not really a champion that you're like, yeah, I'm going to build this champion up and she's going to 1v9 like a Gwen. She's definitely much more of like a sustained fighter, much more of like a survivable fighter. And the Jace is going to still be the highlight, I think, of this Paladins draft. I do think that the lethality Jace has just been really, really good. The problem this game is that lethality Jace struggles quite a bit into jungle Malphite, assuming that's where the Malphite is going. It's one of the few picks that I think actually kind of inhibits the Jace from being able to just take over an entire game. Though I will say the Jace does do pretty well into the Varus and Azir here. I do think the Maokai, funny enough, is the thing that's looking like it might be the most powerful pick of the Akreyma draft, with its ability to be able to disengage the Leona, and the Paladins having very few champions that are actually happy to be able to soak that Malphite ulti. Running out the draft for Akreyma will be the Renekton. Renekton is just, I think, generally considered one of the better picks into M.B.E.S.A in general. Doesn't really matter how many dashes you have as M.B.E.S.A if Renekton can just press W on your forehead, and not only does it hold you in place while he bursts you out, but also, excuse me, he breaks your shields. So the Renekton is able to sort of match some of the laning profile of the M.B.E.S.A and really just counteract a lot of the things that she wants to do directly. And if M.B.E.S.A ever ults in on top of you, you know, Renekton are one of the most broken spells in the game, I swear to you. So I think, once again, overall, the Akreyma draft, I think, is looking substantially better than the Paladins draft. I don't think the Paladins draft is bad in a nutshell, but I think into what's been drafted so far by Akreyma, the Akreyma draft is looking much better, with the exception that I'm not sure what this Varus is going to look like. I think, looking at the game, I don't think on-hit's good. You're kind of like outranged by Phelios and a lot of different gun forms. The only thing you're realistically going to be hitting a lot is the M.B.E.S.A and Leona, and then outside of that, the Taliyah Jace outrange you pretty heavily. Though with on-hit you do have several strong frontliners, so maybe on-hit's really the only options because of the limited damage profile of the rest of the Akreyma draft. Lethality, I think, would be probably just too low of DPS for this draft. I think Azir is offering a lot, but I don't know if he offers enough. But at the same time, lethality would be enough to be able to kill some of these squishy targets much more easy than an on-hit build would. Or maybe he'll be much like me, the Freakazoid bot laner, and just, you know, pick full AP Varus and kind of just rock the world with that unexpectedly. Who knows? With all that being said, our teams have concluded picking their champions. As you can see, we are now moving into a brief spectator delay, which should just be about a minute and a half. So once that's done, I'll be right back with the cast. Thank you once again to anybody who might be listening to the cast right now or watching the VOD later. This is, of course, the winners bracket final between TMG Paladins and the Akreyma Clubhouse and our Metashift Noble Division. I'm your host, Mackie, and I will be right back. Welcome to the Rift Metashift. Gonna have a little bit of that unsealed spellbook action for Akreyma. Was wondering, as Maokai doesn't really feel like he has any defined runes that he must pick. Kite gonna be going for the cleanse. I think cleanse a little bit weaker for him this game than it is for Axify, who just might need it. Although, I mean, the cleanse is pretty weak for both players this game. Just might feel necessary, I suppose. So apparently, based on Twitch chat anyway, Varus is one of like the better champions in pro right now. But like, I don't really. When I've been seeing is a lot of Yunara Corki trade. I can't recall if the Varus has just been getting banned a lot. I feel like the Varus oftentimes is a Scrim God champ. And then the issue is that the game slows down so much in an actual quote-unquote stage game that the champion just sometimes feels like he's not able to have the same sort of acceleration pace that he often wants. In my experience playing a lot of Lethality Varus as well, he just really does favor being able to have a support matchup where he's able to play as aggressively as possible. This would not be the instance, since Kraydog, I think, is mostly here just to be utility for the squad. Going to probably just be a very defensive lane phase overall for Kite and Kraydog, in which case, you know, you're probably not as happy playing like a poor scaling build. Aftermoon and Pleb, both at about the same pace so far. 1, 2, 3, cool kitten. In for game 2 for the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse. Probably just going to be an easy Scuttle Crab secure for the blue team, as Leona and Aphelios are well in control of this bot side matchup. Leona just going to offer like a lot more strength than pretty much anything at this stage, and I do believe that the Jace should just be able to leverage their Leona into a strong Scuttle Crab play here. We'll have to see though. Blue ping's already coming out on the Malphite as the Scuttle Crab is being started up. Pleb is just going to find a little bit of a Shock Blast onto the Maokai, but it does seem that Aftermoon is aware they kind of just need to give up the Scuttle Crab. Leona's going to flash forward and find an E here. I'm not really sure what that's all about. Leona doing a whole lot of nothing right there. This Kraydog will lose a little bit of HP, but yeah, Leona just kind of inexplicably using their Leona spells right there. Almost could have died, honestly, if Kraydog was able to get a better position on that Q, but was not the case. Definitely a winning interaction for the red team, at least because, oh, well, I mean, this should actually just be a kill onto Leona, if not for the fact that Kite just has no mana. This is one of the problems with the early stages of this Varus setup as well, is just that before your tier, just a few rotations of your spells generally means that you're completely out of mana and incapable of doing anything until you find that base. For a while, Lethality Varus was really dominant in pro, and then some of it was just due to the fact that you could go like an early E on Varus, and then just like spam your Comet, spam your Scorch, and it would be enough to be able to just kind of harass out the opposing laner, but they nerfed the mana so much on the spell that the early stages of the lane definitely feel a lot weaker for Varus until he's able to find that first recall. One of the issues too when you're laning into Aphelios is that once he gets this blue gun, it's kind of easy for him to find just like really free push in the lane, and then you're kind of always forced to take a bad recall. If I was Hexify and Leona right now, I would be doing my very best to stop this recall right here instead of matching this recall, because you have a lot more natural pressure and a lot more natural push with the Aphelios gun. Meanwhile, on top side, Akuma's going to, or sorry, I keep calling him Akuma. Fluke is going to drop the Stun Ignite onto Cone. So Fluke right now getting the better of Cone in the top side matchup with the Renekton, as he probably should. But he's going to get the flash out of Cone as well, as he's going to get level 6, and he's just going to go ahead and hit the B button. Really big, though, for Cone right there, as the Renekton now is going to be able to have their ultimate on a pushing wave. So this could be another opportunity for Fluke to try to find an all-in onto Cone. Where's Aftermoon headed? Looks like Aftermoon should be headed to his top camps right now. Hexify and Leona. Just trying to control enough pressure down here to maybe give Pleb the option to go for the first dragon of the game. But instead is just going to look for a Shock Blast on mid. Cool Kitten none too pleased with the fact that he was blasted out of fog by the Jace right there. Pleb, though, spent so much time just walking around the river. He did get a little bit of a late start onto this dragon. Cool Kitten now is going to go in and try to find his revenge, and is going to get it quite easily, as it's just going to be a Shurima shuffle into a Varus Q. It's going to be all she wrote for Pleb, who didn't even know what hit him right there. Aftermoon now is going to start making their way into the dragon, has their smite available, should be able to finish that off relatively easily. And that's going to be the first dragon of the game going over to the Akreyma Clubhouse. Varus finally able to find his first recall, now has that tier. One of the annoying things about playing Varus is if the opposing AD carry just goes cleanse. Always kind of feels a bit fruitless to ulti them. Of course, the Varus ulti is a lot shorter than cleanse. But sometimes you can't find multiple windows in a single cleanse cooldown in order to be able to actually ult them and look for all-ins. The first ulti from Varus basically has to be an effort to be able to remove the cleanse of the opposing AD carry. And even then, it has to be in a position where they can actually die so that they want to use that cleanse. Cone trying to fight back against Fluke on the top side, but Fluke basically just soaking up all their damage a bit freely there. Even hitting a Q himself and escaping the tower range. So like right there, Kite could just pull the ulti in an attempt to try to get Hexify's cleanse. Not going to go for it though. He's just going to be playing weak side on this side of the map at the same time that the Maokai is going to be looking for an invade with Cool Kitten on the top side. Fluke doing a good job of building up a modest but solid CS advantage. As Cone did take another recall, it is now going to be Fluke's opportunity to be able to fight the Imbessa as she walks back into the lane. At the same time, that Knight is going to be kiting away from the Maokai. Cone is going to do a good job of just ulting Fluke right there in an effort to be able to get back to lane, and will be able to actually access the wave. So I do like that play, though I do think that the Grubs now will be not long for this world, as the red team will be able to secure that relatively easily with the Imbessa having no ultimate. The red team does seem to be aware that a dive on the bot side would be the play, as they are doing grubs simultaneously on the opposite side of the map. And Cool Kitten and Kraydog are both shifting over to try to protect Kite, though Leona and Hexify seem like they're not all that interested in diving Kite right now. Fluke is going to find another trade onto Cone at the same time that the Chains of Corruption are going to go wide. So it might not be enough to kill Pleb now. So a bit of an anti-synergy moment from Kraydog and Kite, as Kraydog did just Q the Jace out of the way of the Varus ultimate. And now it's actually going to be a trade kill for Hexify onto Kraydog. So an absolute tragedy right there for the Akreyma Clubhouse, as they horribly misplay and allow the Hexify Aphelios a way to be able to actually access a little bit more gold this game. Cone's definitely thinking about this, but Fluke still has ultimate. Should never get baited by this. This Crocodile just wants you to go in on him. And it looks so ridiculous. Like, you would always think that, like, Cone going in with this big of an HP advantage should mean that they win. It's just not true, though. I mean, it's like the lower the Crocodile is, the scarier he becomes, because the more that you want to go in on him. But as soon as he pops that Dominus, that Renekton's just able to turn on you so quickly, as now the Shurima Shuffle is going to set up another teammate for a potential kill. Aftermoon is going to be able to just find the Malphite ultimate into a flash auto, and that's going to be enough to be able to also finish off Knight, who is going to start pinging out the Malphite flashes. Azir also going to ping out the Talia flash. The problem with using your flash in a situation like this is, like, now, as the Talia, you are well open to just the Azir going for a shuffle on you whenever he wants to, and the Malphite just returning as soon as that Malphite ulti is back to kill you once again. Really like this stuff from Kraydog. The Alistar into the Rel, into the Maokai, into the Leona, super nice. His the way he's disengaging these is very clean. Making it very hard for the Leona and Rel to find value in a lot of these situations. Fluke gonna pop his first Dominus this game and try to take away some of Mbessa's HP. He did soak up 3 tower shots right there, so you'd think that'd mean that Mbessa would win, but Wholesome Crocodile Champion is going to still be very scary, as he has almost a full stack of Rage. He's going to take a 4th tower shot, and oh my god, Cone is shaking because Fluke just royally inted right there, but Cone did not recognize it fast enough to punish him. My guy just flashed stunned a minion, so we all saw that on stream, but you know, shake it off, bud. Little embarrassing, but you know, it is what it is. We all make mistakes. Some mechanical blunders from time to time. Cone now kind of seems like they're interested in trying to dive Fluke, and Fluke didn't seem interested in going back to base. They want to be able to collect their wave here. But after a mistake like that, I'm not sure you can. They're kind of just daring Cone to dive them at the same time that Kraydog is caught in bot side river. Leona is now going to continue to chase as Aftermoon has been able to arrive, and Kite is now going to load up a really nice Varus ultimate. It's going to be a lot of damage coming in from the WQ as, oh my gosh, Hexify's ultimate just barely goes wide. It would have actually been so huge right there to try to kill Kite, but unfortunately Hexify was not able to get that done. So rough, by the way. That Aphelios ultimate would have been huge. It was off just barely. You can see when Varus does get those grouped up fights, Chains of Corruption into the WQ from Varus can be quite impactful. This game, although it's not as accelerated as the previous game was, you definitely can see with a couple of shutdowns already available onto Aftermoon and Cool Kitten. It's definitely, once again, Akreyma in the driver's seat of this one. Okay, finally done with this 80 carry quest. One of the things with Lethality Varus is, I know I'm talking about this a lot, but it's just like something I experimented with a lot, so something I think about pretty often. The champion kind of feels like he runs out of items to build at a certain point. Like around like 3rd, 4th item, you just feel like there's nothing else in the game that you really want all that much. So I imagine with the 7th item, that's not all that different. Yeah, Best is going to go for the all-in, but now Fluke is going to also be able to pull Dominus. I don't know if Cone wins this. They do have the Eclipse, but so does the Renekton. I imagine that the next round, Fluke does win, but Knight is now here, wants to be able to... Oh, that was not the flick back you wanted from Talia. Fluke doing a good job of peeling away, going to get low, but it's certainly not going to die here, as Aftermoon is now here, has the ultimate coming up very soon. Knight has no flash, so the Talia will, of course, be going down. Now the Malphite ultimate is back up again. One of the big things with this season is that Zeke's item that the Malphite can build just lowers your ultimate cooldown so much. And when you ulti in, it makes you just like, it's so cheap, then when you go in, you're just able to stick the thing so much easier. And so overall, it's just going to be a nice easy double kill going over into the pocket of Cool Kitten. And whenever you have an accelerated Azir in a game like this, you're feeling very good about your odds as far as your ability to be able to scale into the game and win. Another nice cute right there from Kite. Harassing down Hexify slowly but surely. Renekton finally able to secure the first turret of the game, much like the previous game with the Akreyma top laner. Fluke is once again going to be very scary, though this game at least is a Renekton and not as a Heen. There's going to be a Shock Blast coming through very shortly, as Pleb is going to try to line it up. Fluke is going to be able to dodge out on it. Fluke now has their Dominus up once again. They're going to go back in. They're going to be able to get a full Fury Bar right there. One more WQ would be enough to be able to finish off Pleb, but Pleb is going to flash away at the same time that he was about to go for it. Now it's going to be Cool Kitten looking for a play onto the Leona, as he's going to nearly get flicked back there, but it's just going to dash through the Unraveled Earth voluntarily instead. Leona now going to also be going down as she tried to hook back out of the play after being initiated on during the beginning of it. So overall, it's just going to be a free play for the red team on the bot side at the same time that Pleb loses his flash in the 2v1 on top side, trying to take down Fluke. Do a little gold check right here. Is there a gold leader this game? Just Cool Kitten. Although, as I was kind of suspecting, Jace is actually very close in gold right now. Very close in gold. Vizier, you would always guess, is like the gold leader. He has the most kills. He's on the winning team. He has the farm, yada, yada, yada. But the Jace also has the ability to be able to do a lot this game. Aftermoon, do you have the gold to do this? Yeah, that's why Malphite's getting nerfed next patch. But, I mean, he really should do that realistically with the level advantage and whatnot. So, Aftermoon now going to be running down Pleb, who uses Flash on top side. The Chains of Corruption are not going to quite land there, and neither is the Q from the Varus. Aftermoon is now just going to flash over the wall when no one else is really there ready to follow up. And so he's going to flash away, trying not to give away a shutdown to the Jace. One more Q from Kite is going to go wide, but the E is very hard to miss, and so that's going to be just enough to be able to finish off a couple more kills for the red side on the bot side of the map. That's going to be the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse, once again, being pretty easily in control of this game right now. Another Seraph's build from this Talia, which is much more normal. Still not going to have a lot of damage, particularly with CDR boots. And now TMG Cone going to go in onto Cool Kitten, but Cool Kitten having the mechanics and the swag to just kind of glide on out of there with their boys. Hexify, after using their cooldowns on the bot side, now going to have to deal with Fluke, who has a 3-level advantage. Absolutely nothing they can do, though Fluke is, you know, lacking his ultimate. Aftermoon and Kraydog are going to be there just for insurance, as Knight is able to do very little for their AD carry. Have to lower that. Okay, Cool Kitten's being assailed on the side lane, though with just a little bit of an Azir ultimate and a shuffle away, they are going to be okay, but Pleb is now going to be trying to find the shutdown onto the Azir. The Jace is exactly who you want this gold on. If you are the blue team, he's going to be chasing for it because the game is starting to get desperate right here. The Leona now is going to be caught out themselves, is trying to allow Pleb to be able to go for the chase. I think Pleb knows how bad the game is right here, so Pleb just going to take an execute rather than taking a death to one of the opposing teams. The Azir, still having had the flash after shuffling someone away, is going to be able to escape the Jace at the same time that Kite is also going to be able to find and engage onto Hexify in mid. Kraydog, once again, able to just basically be omnipresent on the map right now. I mean, this guy is just appearing everywhere, right place, right time, every single time there's any kind of play that the Paladins are going for. Kraydog has been on top of it, so this guy's been, I think, just playing very well today. Now Fluke, once again, finding another opportunity for a 1v1 on top side, is going to be taking on Cone, who has her flash but no more ultimate. Fluke, of course, still has Dominus available because this ability also just has no cooldown, apparently. 81 seconds, like a minute 20, yeah. Crazy. Feels so short. 80 doesn't seem that short, but it definitely feels like it in effect. Now Fluke going to be going for the play. Doesn't need their flash to close the distance. They will be able to finally catch up to Cone. The Ignite is not going to be enough because Cone does get one more shield there. And now Fluke, I think, is not going to be able to get that. I think he might have finally blundered. Pleb is finally here to be able to collect the gold on the Crocodile. And he's going to be able to find himself something nice in the shop with that 420 gold after collecting that guy. Knight is now getting very low as they flick back Cool Kitten. They are going to get like half their HP. Cool Kitten might die here as well. Yeah, so right now, the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse, you know, they're still winning for sure, but giving away some gold to the opposing team. Leona now, oh, it doesn't drag you. Interesting. Okay. I thought that'd be an interaction where the Leona E rings you but doesn't stun Kite. Anyway, better probably be a turn onto Leona now, who has no flash, though Aftermoon was being waited for. And now Kraydog is actually going to go for the AD carry. Aftermoon also has no ultimate right now, so this actually could be a bad play for Kite and the rest of the boys, but where did the Jace go? Okay, so Kite just able to finish off the Jace altogether, probably just with some Blight stacks and a WQ, as Aftermoon is so tanky right now in the middle of 3 people. Fluke has had all the time to respawn and start running down mid with those new home guards. A nice Q from Kite over the wall. That means he continues to contribute to the play as Aftermoon has their Protoplasm Harness kicking. They are going to be able to heal up like a Dr. Mundo in the fight. Fluke is going to be getting very low once again as Cone wants to be able to try to find a kill on the opposing top laner after all of the suffering he's had this game, but instead Knight is going to collect a kill onto the Varus, who was being caught out in their jungle at the very beginning of this play not 45 seconds ago, but instead is going to be going down to Knight instead. Kind of just a needless scrappage right there. Especially when Aftermoon doesn't have their ultimate, but Akreyma probably just needs to try to find a way to slow down the game a little bit. 3 dragons to their names. I actually don't have objective timers up, so thanks for reminding me, guys. That's it. 230 on the dragon. Very fast dragon soul this game as well. Just around 23 minutes is pretty close to as efficient as you can get with that. Kraydog going to be stunned right here. His Celestial opposition is going to fall off, and now Knight is in on the back line, but Varus is going to be able to find an ultimate. He can't finish off Knight, but Aftermoon is going to be able to find a 3-man knockup. The question is, where does the follow-up come from? Kite is able to finish off Knight, and Cool Kitten is able to find a sweep on a 3. Hexify is now going to have red-white, and is going to start DPSing on a Cool Kitten. Kite is able to find one more Q, though, and now Cool Kitten is able to finish off the play right there. It was looking good for just a second, but unfortunately, the Emperor of Shurima comes in to be able to finish off the play at the last second, punishing the overextension of the Paladins. Fluke now going to be scrapping with Cone on the side lane, but Cone just going to limp away from this one as the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse is just going to take the Baron, take the side lane, take the mid lane, and take the Moon, and take the breath away of the Paladins. Fluke just casually walking away from Cone. He does actually tank a tower shot right there. That could be the difference maker, as he is just trying to heal away from Cone. I mean, does Cone ever run out of energy, by the way? Like, God. Okay, now Fluke probably should be going down here, but gets one more E, and Cone actually is not going to be able to continue the chase, especially in light of the fact that Kite is just moving down with his 2 lethality items and some other pieces. He is going to use that Empowered Baron recall to be able to go and finish off that Manimune. This is about when Varus feels his most powerful. Sometimes he's able to go for the Shredder's Grudge 3rd, and that can feel really good as well, but the Edge of Night often is very core as his champion, as he is very immobile. Kite was looking pretty good in that last team fight, though, definitely landing 3 really high damage arrows. Pleb and Cone going to look for a play on the Fluke, but this guy has Dominus, and so I don't know if this is the smoke that you want. Dominus going to be popped, healing going to be available very shortly, and Fluke is dealing a lot of damage. We'll be able to kill off Pleb all by themselves. Now Fluke is going to have to continue the play, as Knight is going to be trying to be his next challenger, but it's going to be in vain, as Azir, Malphite, and eventually even the Varus would have been there to be able to make sure that Fluke was not going to be going down without a fight. So just going to be a big crocodile taking an easy 2v1 with everyone else just kind of showing up at the end as an afterthought. Malphite is going to move over and just be able to pick up the soul of the game. It's going to be an Infernal Drake, which is massive for most compositions, but this game as well, as Azir is going to be able to proc it very easily, as will the Azir, the Maokai saplings, all of this good stuff. This guy's playing with fire. Though might go down here. No, going to flash away from the Jace on the side, and now is going to drop the ultimate onto the front line. The Mbest is going to get very low here, as Kite has enough time to be able to work with the squad to be able to finish off 2. And now Cool Kitten's here to sweep up the enemy AD carry, as Knight is trying to find their way into the play to see if they can flip anybody. But Cool Kitten with the cool little Zonias is going to be just alright. On the backside of the play, Fluke is probably going to give chase to this Jace, so that way he's not able to recall and try to hold the base. It's going to be a while, though, as Pleb is just sort of weighing his options of just taking the full ones with Fluke. Cool Kitten continues to glide forward, trying to find a way to be able to just end the game right here, right now. But Fluke is instead just going to be able to finish off the Jace. We're going to see Aftermoon able to just push in that top wave. Should be another turret easily going down. Who's the damage here that's available? Yeah, unless the Aphelios is able to do something miraculous. Kite has the ultimate up right now. I'm surprised they don't just continue, to be honest with you, with Kite's ultimate, but such is the way of things when you want to make sure you don't throw the game. Aftermoon's going to have the ultimate very soon. Fluke, once again, finding himself in another 1v2 with the Dominus available, is going to be able to finish off the Talia all by themselves. Leona going to try to tank up the Malphite underneath her own turret, but it's not going to be doable, and this Renekton is just rolling through everybody, so I think this one's about done. I think the side of the Paladins took their last swing at things right there, as one more Shock Blast is going to collect a little bit more money on the first strike for Pleb, but it's not going to mean all that much, as Afternoon's just going to once again right-click forward and say outplayed Jung Diff inside of the chat, as it's going to be the Akreyma Clubhouse able to pretty seamlessly overall take game 2 of the series. Quick post game. 31k on Fluke. Monstrous Crocodile. I don't have too much to add from that one in as far as post game thoughts. So I'm just going to go ahead and start getting this ready for game 3. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Draft Metashift. We are going to get one more side swap for the series. I say one more, but, you know, I don't want to be that guy. This definitely could drag out to a 4th and then 5th game if the side of the Paladins have been able to find a solid enough read onto the Akreyma Clubhouse to be able to make this a series after this one. Though the Akreyma Clubhouse has been looking very dominant so far, so we'll have to see if they're able to continue with such ways going into the 3rd game of our Fearless BO5 in our winners bracket semifinals. Well, not semifinals, finals. Gonna go ahead and open up my Twitch chat once again as we are blazing our way through draft again between these two teams. We're gonna get a lot of repeat bans. The Akreyma Clubhouse on the blue side is gonna have the same ones. Ollie with Gunblade OP. Dusk and Dawn Echo is crazy. Scion consistent as fuck. So on the side of the Paladins, Caitlyn and Nico going to maintain their 100% ban presence for them. And this time, Sivir is going to be removed instead. Sivir offering another crazy baseline and really a very crazy counter pick champion overall. First draft of the game for Akreyma, who continues to have pretty solid drafts overall, is just going to be this Ryze. Ryze, another pretty flexible mid lane champion that you're going to be able to comp around in several different ways. Champion definitely is enjoying some of the new actualizer builds and also some of the increased side laning. Ryze is mostly gated by poor range, but definitely acts as pretty good setup for a lot of jungle pairings. The Paladins are going to reach for the Syndra. Syndra can scale next to Ryze pretty well, and he can generally trade onto him pretty actively without too much fear of having the Ryze trade back at her. So it does mean that she's able to farm stacks off of him pretty consistently. The K'Sante is going to, of course, be an ever-present and ever-powerful champion for any top lane meta. The champion just simply offers too much damage. He is also just incredibly tanky in the lane phase. Mainly, K'Sante's weakness is low range. He also does have some pretty poor lane matchups, but in general, he's just really reliable, and you kind of always know what you're going to get from a K'Sante. Sometimes he can high roll and just have an absolutely crazy game. So definitely going to be a pretty solid champion overall for the Paladins to pick up here. The Akreyma Clubhouse going to round out the next part of the draft with a Smolder pick. Smolder definitely is interesting to me right now. When he was being initially played with still some very similar crit items, I thought the champion's damage was pretty decent, but recently people are doing like Essence Reaver, Shojin, RFC, and I just think he does 0 damage. So we'll have to see what Akreyma wants to do with that champion and his itemization this game. Amumu is going to be, I think, a support jungle flex for them. I don't think he's necessarily like the most powerful engaged jungler out there. I think he's mostly a setup champion, and I think you mostly want him with like really high amounts of magic damage that get to benefit off his passive. So kind of surprised to see an Amumu, honestly. I don't know if he's supposed to be like a specific pairing with either one of Smolder or Ryze or a counter to Syndra, but weird for sure. And then the Paladins are going to go ahead and pick up a Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo probably going to hit the jungle, and probably just going to assumedly try to match the scaling of the Amumu and eventually outscale him, of course. The Dr. Mundo is something that, once it gets going, is really good, but I think in the jungle sometimes feels a little bit underwhelming recently. And also probably not exactly what you're expecting to pair with your Syndra. So I think the 3rd pick for both teams, a little odd. But going to the 2nd round of bans, Akreyma Clubhouse recognizing that the Paladins are going to try to figure out what they want to counter the Smolder with. They're going to remove the Ezreal, which can outrange it and harass it and be much stronger than it in lane, and the Tristana, which can basically play 2 all in it. Paladins, instead, are going to look towards that Yunara. I definitely think the Paladins need a hyper carry, based on the fact that they have K'Sante and Dr. Mundo. The Yunara is going to be able to offer that fairly well. She also kind of outranges Smolder, though it's not super easy for her to close the distance on Smolder without her taking a lot of abuse in return. The support pick is going to be the counter pick for the Paladins, so this should fare well for the Yunara, and she should have herself a pretty solid lane phase here. I'm interested to see how Akreyma rounds this draft out, though, with, okay, so like Ryze top, Smolder mid, MF Amumu bottom. Why, though? Okay. Into Udyr jungle. Interesting. I mean, I like the Udyr jungle pick for sure, but I think the Smolder mid is super weird. I don't know why you would necessarily want that. Or unless it's Rise mid and then they're sending the Smolder top into K'Sante. Okay, I could see that. Braum is pretty nice into Misfortune. It's pretty nice into Amumu. And it's pretty nice with Yunara. So I think solid Braum pick right there. Akreyma cooked a little bit with this one. We'll see. The issue I think with their draft is they are a bunch of squishers. Like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be like an AP Udyr. The reason I like the Udyr pick is because I don't think you're particularly happy with a Mumu jungle into Dr. Mundo. So I definitely see the angle to flex it bottom. And then once you have this Udyr is like really happy to match the Dr. Mundo just perma-farming the jungle because he actually does have like monstrous scaling in a team fight. But that's only if he goes AP, which I guess does work with the fact that Amumu reduces the enemy's magic resistance. But I mean, who are your face checkers here? Amumu support is just very squishy, is one of the problems with it. And also, you kind of have a non-lane phase into Braum. Like, the Braum is so much tankier than the Amumu and still creates a lot of damage and utility. And then the Braum kind of nullifies and walls your Misfortune ultimate. It's looking a little rough there. I mean, like, the Udyr can still be very strong, right? Like, he still will slowly burn down the K'Sante and Mundo. I just think from a macro perspective, the game looks like a little bit challenging to play for Akreyma. But I think some of the things that they did here as far as the flexibility they're going for in the draft does make sense. It's just unfortunate that you pick the Misfortune hoping to have a better lane phase into the Yunara than the Smolder would, and then the Misfortune just kind of gets completely walled by the Braum. And I do believe the Paladins support did just get swapped, and I think the person that just swapped in is Fortress Door, if I'm not mistaken. And, like, the guy clearly plays Braum. So, I mean, you had to know it was coming to a degree as well. So, I mean, I think if there's a good bounce back game for the Paladins, probably will be the Brumski. Well, also, I just have to see how solo lane Smolder goes, because, yeah, it used to be the logic that, like, Smolder can just farm stacks off of the K'Sante. But I just feel like solo lane Smolder is, like, so much weaker than it used to be back then. So we'll have to see if it actually is able to actually just hold out against K'Sante at all. Because a lot of times it kind of feels like Smolder does 0 damage, loses control of the wave, and then K'Sante just like hard forces on it over and over again and can never die. Well, with that being said, our teams have completed picking their champions in Champion Select. We have a 2-minute spectator delay, and then we will be right back onto the Rift with what should be a pretty interesting Game 3. Well, these botlings are angry. I do like to see both these bot lanes fighting for level 1 position so aggressively, though. I think a bit of a lost habit in this new season. You would expect a lot more of these mid-bush fights between both bot lanes at level 1 with how fast minions spawn. I've just noticed it hasn't really been the case when I play my bot lane games in solo queue. Basically no resistance in that bush. In this case, of course, fighting the Braum level 1 was pretty rough. It would have been a nice little first strike trade for Kite, if not for the fact that the Braum had been able to land that Q onto them. So now, going to be Kraydog and Kite definitely on the back foot a little bit here, although they really should not be expecting to win this lane by any means. I think Fluke running this Ghost is also pretty key here. I really thought both top laners would be running it this game, because once Cassante is level 6, if he has that Ghost, he is just running down the Smolder, like, guaranteed. But this game, since Fluke has the Ghost and Cone does not, might be a kind of situation where Fluke is actually able to escape the Cassante. The Mundo finishing is clear and moving in towards the bot side. Probably won't be able to get too much done here, as Mundo and Braum are pretty much just frontliners, not really great engagers. You can see that Braum and Hexify want to try to fight a way to pull the wave. And also, I know I said in pregame that I think that they just subbed in Fortress Wall, but I just forgot that. I haven't been able to see their name for a while because they have streamer mode on, but Fortress Wall finally able to get their main, the Broomski. Good knockback from Cone. Good double knockback from Cone. Fluke is, yeah, dead. I mean, that's the matchup for you. It looks like it's going really well for Smolder for so long, and then Cassante literally finds one spell on you, and it's completely chopped. Cool Kitten finding a little bit of control on this mid wave from Knight. Aftermoon considering a dive here is pretty surprising. Kraydog is going to flash forward and drop aggro. Aftermoon's going to tank it. He's going to live. Nope, he's dead. Oh, I do not know why he's flashing. So he does get an execute. Kraydog also able to finish off Hexify. I guess it's just a good play. Surprisingly. Very surprisingly, Aftermoon just getting executed, and then Kraydog able to finish off the AD carry, Kite finishing off the kill. I mean, whatever, call it clean dive from the Akreyma Clubhouse. Some's gone off of Hexify as well, and they are coming back to a bit of a rough lane position, though the Braum once again should be able to wall the Misfortune somewhat easily. Fluke needs to be careful there. Should they get hit by that knockup from the Cassante, they probably are just dead on cooldown. With the Udyr finishing off that bot dive, it does mean that Pleb has the ability to be able to move to that dragon first. And I think that Akreyma has secured the first dragon in the majority of their games, in this game and the previous, and in this series as well. This game, though, will be different, as it will be the first dragon of the game going the other way. And now Smolder's dead. Yep. So far, the cook is not paying off, I've got to say. This Cassante champion cannot be underestimated. Pretty much saying exactly what we were talking about. Smolder can never kill Cassante. He loses control of the wave. He gets hit by one spell, and he's dead. And that's happened twice in 5 minutes already. Cool Kitten now looking for a solo kill onto Knight. Knight's going to be trying to weave away from some of those Rise skill shots, as Cool Kitten actually doesn't have the cooldowns necessary to be able to kill the Syndra. Pinging out the Rise Ghost Flash. I mean, honestly, that was a big overcommit from Cool Kitten. The fact that they used both mobility sums and they didn't manage to be able to even get Knight's Flash is pretty weird. I think it just is going to open up the Rise to be being ganked pretty much whenever Mundo is 6. Flash on Mundo is a little surprising, as you typically see Ghost on this champion in the jungle. Grey Dog not able to find anything here. Aftermoon working his way into that bot side river to secure his Skull Crab. I always feel as we're getting to around game 3 in Fearless, pretty much all the gameplay gets like a lot more loose and a little more sloppy in general. Sometimes I feel like it's champ experience. Sometimes I feel like teams like literally just start getting tired. And this is one of those things about top. I don't know if Fluke is close to his next level up. I can check here. Oh boy. Yeah, he is getting it. Still, every single time this Cassante gets close to this Smolder, I mean, it's looking rough. Yeah. Let's be careful. Looks like the first grubs of the game are just going to be entirely... Oh, good job with Fortress Door there. Are just going to be entirely conceded. Unless Cone wants to actually contest these, but Kraydog is here with level 6 and the Braum is not. So I can't imagine these are going to be like hard contested. Pleb has Smite. He should just wait, walk up and take it. Doesn't want to risk dying though, and he is just going to go ahead and, you know, have nothing to do there pretty much. The Mundo typically I think would try to just commit for the Smite should it be like an earlier season when that last grubby did matter a lot more, but now again doesn't matter all that much, so Pleb learning his lesson and not sacrificing himself to be able to secure a grub. Not able to get the blue there either, as now the Amumu is here to fight, as Fortress Door has also made their way up to the play. Pleb is going to be getting a little bit low and pop the Mundo ultimate, as Cool Kitten is going to be here on the play first. The Braum's going to be going down before too long, as Pleb is also just going to be not long for this world, and that's going to be Braum and Pleb going for what they thought was a 2v2, but it very quickly became a 2v3 because they were, of course, diving into the enemy jungle. I mean, kind of a very weird play, to be honest. I don't know if they thought that Pleb was going to be able to just find like a cheeky one-on-one steal with Aftermoon, and that Braum would have the advantage since he showed up and they didn't expect Kraydog to be there anymore. But that was a really like a very haphazard fight to take in the enemy jungle, particularly when the Rise has the ability to move before Knight does. Nonetheless, it's just going to be a small advantage at the beginning of this game, as Kite is going to be dropping her ultimate onto Hexify. Kraydog is going to be able to find the first Q on Hexify, and they need one more to be able to finish this off, and one more Q from Kite will be the end of that play, as Fluke is dead again. Yep. Fluke not even using their cooldowns, as they recognize that they are pretty much just dead there, no matter what. Now the Cassante is 3-0. And the rest of the map is doing pretty well for the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse, but Fluke definitely going to have to, I don't know, figure something out to try to slow down this Cassante. I don't know if they have to swap in mid-game to allow him to play, but then the Syndra's maybe just one-shotting him. Basically, the Smolder is looking kind of homeless, is what we say in the League community. Four-man blast cone into the river is absolutely crazy. as Knight is going to be able to disengage the blue team with a little bit of Scatter the Weak. We are going to see Cassante coming in with no ultimate here. The Dragon's very low. Who's going to get it? It's going to be the Udyr. The Udyr now is trying to disengage the play. Hexify is rooted as Cool Kitten has nowhere to go, and Cool Kitten will be going down. Kraydog is within an inch of his life and is going to eventually just go down to the burn damage of the Blackfire Torch. But we've been kind of seeing this a lot this series, in that the side of the Paladins is able to find a couple of kills on the backside of the fight, but then the objective does just go over to the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse. That sequence really is no different there. The difference being that, well, Fluke had more time to be on top side to farm things out, but Fluke, I feel, is not becoming more scary necessarily as a result of all this free time. Also, some of the early shutdowns just went directly over to some carry targets, and so I feel that those kills were a lot more valuable than they were in previous games. I think Fluke is just, I don't even know, just trying to collect more stacks right here, kind of recognizing that he's just going to be going 0-4 very quickly here. Still, no reason to use his sums, and at least in isolation, again, the laners of the Akreyma Clubhouse are doing well as far as, you know, Fluke is pressing tab, just looking at the rest of the game, thinking to himself, it's fine, my team can carry me here, I just got to keep on scaling and hit my breakpoints. Gonna do a little gold check here. Yeah, that's what I felt like. The bot lane's up like 1.5k. The Syndra's actually ahead, makes sense. What about the jungle? Jungle's pretty much even. Yeah, and TMG Cone is about as far ahead as the Misfortune is right now. But going into mid-game, TMG Cone is going to be way too tanky for Kite to actually be able to kill. It's going to be a while, actually, before there's enough damage on the side of the Akreyma Clubhouse to actually be able to get through this Cassante when he's not in his all-out form. At the very least, for Fluke, excuse me, he has been able to finish off his Essence Reaver, so he should be able to sustain the lane a little bit better. But it's still the same story. If he is getting hit by skill shots by the Cassante, he will be dying very quickly. But as you can see, he can more freely use that E to dodge away from skill shots at least, so that way... Alright, since he has the Essence Reaver, his mana sustain is much better, so he can use the E a lot more freely. Braum going for a ward is going to get jumped on, but I don't know if this is a good play for the blue team. The wall is going to be going down right now as Pleb is going to just make their way back to their blue buff, and the Misfortune ulti basically just zones away the opposing team. 4 Darkseal stacks for Aftermoon, as Knight is going to find the rise here, but miss all their skill shots. I think Cool Kitten might be going for a bit of a fight right here, as Knight is going to drop a lot of damage on the Cool Kitten just because Syndra is doing Syndra things. She missed like half of her skills right there. Still had enough damage to threaten Cool Kitten, so Cool Kitten's going going to continue to find their base. Pleb, after seeing Udyr make a bot side play, is going to make their way into the enemy topside jungle and take away at least a blue buff. Kraydog doesn't want to allow it to happen, but you know what can he do? He's just a sad little teapot mummy. Hexify, desperate to try to just tap that turret and collect that plate, but is not going to be able to do so just because the Misfortune damage is absolutely immense right now. The difference between Yomo's Dirk and Kraken and Yunara is crazy. If Hexify is able to stick, they can sometimes win, but as you can see in short trades, Kite's damage is just like so much higher. Fluke is kind of stuck here. No, he has his E again, never mind. Pleb is going to find Kraydog here, who has his ultimate, but he doesn't want to use it right here. Maybe he should have, though. That was a good opportunity to try to use it on the Syndra. Oh, he doesn't have it yet. Okay, so the Syndra is going to go down after using their flash, and now the Fortress Door is going to show up here. Pleb is going to try to run down Kite, who is trying to do just that, get a shield, and then continue to try to move away from the opposing team and still drop some damage in the process, as Braum is now also going to be going down because there is no more door to be held open. Hexify now going to dash forward with that line skill shot and be able to finish off Kite. Cool Kitten having enough damage to do this? No, just missing on that Q right there, and so Hexify once again doing a good job of going forward as far as possible to finish off the opposing AD carry. And by the way, the Smolder is dead again. Do I dare rewind? No, it doesn't even matter. I'm pretty sure he probably just got like 100-0 underneath his turret or something. With Cassante full combo, he has his aftershock, he loads up his W, he just does 1,000,000 true damage and one-shots the Smolder. Okay, third dragon of the game. Blue team is pinging out the Cassante as they want to try to stop him from making their way into the play, as the Cassante, of course, is functionally immortal right now. Aftermoon is here and does have the smite, but they might need a double E as the Mundo does finally win a smite fight. Kraydog locks up like one person with the Mumu ultimate, but it's enough to be able to set up Hexified and the Misfortune R. Aftermoon also flashing away as the Syndra is going to move away from the rest of the play, not wanting to die herself. TMG Cone did try to make their way into the bot side play, but just didn't have enough move speed to be able to make it there. So good on the side of Fluke to make sure that it was at least hard for Cone to TP, though I'm pretty sure Cone could probably just TP in Fluke's face and there's probably nothing he could do about it. So yeah, I'm actually not sure why Cone just didn't TP there. But nonetheless, the dragon is going to go over to the side of the Paladins, and so that's at least going to be a big win for them. Fluke, I don't even think he cares about dying at this point. He just wants stacks. But he's out! He's over the wall at the very least, so they're going to have to chase him for a little while longer. Kite is narrowly going to live, as Pleb is just going to pop that Mundo ultimate, and Fluke probably shouldn't even be using his flash right there, but the Rise ultimate almost saves his life. It would have been absolutely crazy. I think Cool Kitten probably should have just used it a little bit sooner. That would have been the most epic escape from for the Smolder, but unfortunately the baby dragon's life does just come to an end in the river right there. For the 6th time this game, I might add. We definitely have seen games where Syndra seems very quiet, and then right about now, she finds some sort of cheeky shutdown on the Misfortune, and then she just feels like she's completely out of control for the rest of the game as she just continues to scale up. We'll have to see if that's the kind of game that we're dealing with. It is just a modest gold lead right now for Akreyma, but I mean, most of it is just being represented probably just by the top difference. I mean, it's not even like that crazy. It's still just 1.2k. Yeah, I mean, it's actually crazy that Fluke can be down this much on the scoreboard, and he's down like 1.2, and then Yunara is just somehow down 3k. I mean, I guess they got smashed as well, actually, now that I'm looking at it, but even so, it looks like it should be about equally as bad, but it's like twice as bad right now for the Yunara versus the MF. The red team is just trading sides right now. They're basically saying that we can't or don't want to contest this Herald, and instead we are just going to try to farm gold for ourselves on the opposite side of the map. The problem is now they've left their mid open, so mid is going to go down for free. And on the back side of this play now, the Rift Herald can do a lot of damage, and that's if Kraydog doesn't just set up the freest kill ever. I mean, just a Mumu ulti into Misfortune ulti. I mean, how much simpler do you want it to be? Fluke is going to pop Ghost, and I do think that means that he should get away from this Cassante. Should. Yeah, he's going to be able to get away from Cassante. That's why the Ghost is so good right there. Fluke actually going to start fighting back now, wants to try to find it. Uh-oh! Okay, is the all-out enough to be able to actually kill him? I actually think that the baby dragon wins now. Wow, okay. No. He does not win now. But he does at least get on the board now. A 1-in-7 AKM Fluke is finally arrived, as they're able to at least get the shutdown gold onto the Cassante. Knight is going to try to line up a stun. I'm surprised it's not a full-out dive onto the Rise, though he is very healthy and does have a Seraph Shield in the back pocket. And because it's like a Blackfire Torch, Cosmic Drive Syndra, probably just not enough damage to be able to kill that guy. Maybe with the Brahmic Knight, though. Maybe if he had ulti. It's one of those games where it's like, yes, the top laner for the Paladins is very strong, but the whole game is kind of happening away from him. And so there's really no great opportunity for the Cassante to be able to leverage his strength. That third dragon fight seemed like one where he might be able to do so, but was just not able to get over on the map soon enough. This fight going to be a kind of a similar situation. Like, is how much are you going to sacrifice as far as side laning so that way you're able to be present? Because right now Cone needs to make an impact on this team fight to prevent the snowball getting out of control. And this is looking like kind of a tough distribution right now for the side of Akreyma. Plave is going to start getting caught out right now, but he is a Mundo. He is extremely survivable. He's going to flash away and be able to find a re-engage very shortly as the door is going to show up and lock down Kraydog as Kraydog locks down the opposing team. Fluke is now opening up with all the AoE as Misfortune did the same thing, and that's just way too much AoE damage coming out from the twin 80 carries of the Akreyma Clubhouse. And then Cool Kitten is there to boot to make sure that anybody in the front line is getting absolutely devoured. And I mean, like... It's so crazy. You can go 0-7 in lane as Smolder, and then you roll up to a team fight with your boys, and then you just collect a quadra kill. An absolutely masterful re-engage there by Kraydog, just sitting up the absolute masterclass of a team fight wipe from the Misfortune ulti and all the AoE damage from the Smolder as well. I mean, honestly, I have to say, compliments to Kraydog this series. I feel like this guy has been playing out of his mind. That was a great re-engage with just a sliver of HP. This guy's fine. This guy's just playing with so much freedom right now, knowing that his boys really do have control of the game while he just continues to scale up as the Smolder. Syndra pinging out the Smolder's flash at the same time that they themselves had to use flash, but Aftermoon just having pressure on this side of the map was able to influence the side lane matchup. And now after all that's been said and done, Smolder is just going to be able to build up to their Infinity Edge rather quickly this game, you know, all things being considered. Definitely about that time where the Baron becomes a possibility. Udyr going to go for the Medjaz right now, looking to really put his mark on the game and start accelerating things. Cool Kitten's going to get caught out by the Cassandra here for sure, but doesn't get pulled through the wall with the all-out. So I do think Cool Kitten's going to be okay for right now. Kite is going to take a while to finish off the Cassandra, but the Cassandra shred his own resistances, and now Cool Kitten and Kite are kiting together. TMG Cone is going to eventually go down here as Kite's Collector is going to do just that. You know, the rest of the boys are not around Cone to allow him to actually go for that play, and that's what I'm saying with the game just happening away from the Cassandra. And right now, Kraydog looking for one more Q to try to set up another nice Amumu ultimate. Going to be able to find two, but it's just going to be the frontliners, but that's going to be just enough as the Braum will go down and Pleb continues to try to get out of here. Hexify also going to get wrapped up one more time by the Amumu bandages, and then Pleb being there is going to die as a collateral is the word that I was looking for. As right now the Akreyma Clubhouse is going to continue to push down mid. Knight wants to try to find somebody that they can ulti, and right now Kraydog wants to find one more friend. Ooh, okay, swaggy little Rise ultimate right there to move all the boys back into the jungle. Want to try to accelerate themselves a little bit on the Rift so that way they can try to get this Baron before they reset. Cone does have TP, but he has no ulti. I don't expect him to see him going for a desperate play onto this Baron. Knight has finished off their Void Staff and is now pinging the enemy 80 carries. Let's hope that means that they're saying I'm ready to absolutely one-shot their backliners. Don't worry, guys. We got this. The 10k gold comeback begins with me right here, right now, on this base defense. I imagine that's what the comms sound like. Kite just charging forward with the Yomo's Ghostblade. Has the Edge of Night just ready to fight whoever comes. Pleb trying to get away from Aftermoon, who wants nothing to do with his Udyr's AP damage. Cone is going to finish off an objective bounty for the rest of his squad. As that mid inhibitor obviously already bit the dust. The slow siege will begin as Fluke is going to start trying to build up as many stacks as they can on the opposing members of the team. Kraydog going to be able to find a really nice immune ultimate once again, and the Syndra, who was there, who's going to try to finish off as many backlanders as they can, is not able to do so, as the Misfortune and the Smolder are entirely untouched. The Syndra was only able to get so far. Hexify now going to also just be wiped off the Rift, and I mean, it was just a little bit too easy right there. I doubted the Amumu a little bit, but who am I to doubt Kraydog going crazy on the Amumu, and that's going to be the Akreyma Clubhouse taking our winners bracket finals in 3 games, looking extremely dominant doing it. Congratulations to the Akreyma Clubhouse for progressing to our Metashift Noble Division finals. I don't know about cooked to perfection. The draft was definitely interesting. I don't think it was horrible, but I definitely think that it was an execution gap this game. Maybe that's just how Smolder Cassante is supposed to go in the early game, right? Like, let's get a little bit of post game here. I mean, at the very least, regardless of how much Fluke died, he kept the mental together. He played with the boys. He dropped crazy damage. After controlling the game pretty well there. Cool Kitten losing his cool a little bit in the lane phase when he's like just like charging forward with both mobility spells and not even getting the Cinder Flash, but went back to collapse on the play, like when Pleb and Fortress Door tried finding an invade on the blue. Just was, again, right place, right time. And Kite had a really good game today. I mean, the bot lane of Akreyma in general had a really good game, or a really good series today. So once again, I mean, congratulations to Akreyma. They definitely were the better team today. And as far as I know, this is not the end for the Paladins. I think they get to go back to the drawing board a little bit in our losers bracket. So who knows? You know, take some learnings from this game, and maybe there will be a redemption arc for this team. Okay, and I will show an intermission for right now as I reach out to the teams to see if they want to do a brief little interview with us. Yeah, the Zaheen game was very crazy. I completely agree. All 3 top games were like really, really strong. I feel like top and bottom are what I noticed the most this series personally. Yeah, I do think though the first game was Dwami top, which I think Dwami only played game 1. Okay, it looks like I'm going to get Dwami the victorious top/coach of the Akreyma Clubhouse. So I'm going to mute up really quick, and then we can do just a short interview with these guys, and then we'll call it a night. Okay, everyone, I am here with the victorious top/coach as well as the victorious AD carry of the Akreyma Clubhouse. This is Dwami Papi as well as Kite. Congratulations to both of you for winning the series in a relatively dominant fashion. I always like to lead with how are both of you feeling after your victorious series?
We're feeling
Uh,
good. Yeah.
yeah, I feel good only having to play one game and then my team 3-0.
For sure.
It's an
Did you
awesome
guys
feeling
think
when
that there
your
might
team
have
did.
been did today's match go to expectation?
Yeah. I remember last time this team lost 2-0, and I was like, how did that happen? But yeah, today I think we're learning how to draft properly.
What about you? What about for
So
you,
much.
Kite?
Yeah. First time we played, I think we got 2-0 if I remember correctly. So we just had to win in like a dominant fashion to get our vengeance this time, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You guys definitely seem like you guys were uh, much stronger today. Do you guys think that the drafts were making a big difference for you guys as to why some of those games look like that?
Oh,
What
Yeah.
do
totally.
you guys think the source is for like why the series looks so different from the first time you guys saw the TMG Paladins?
I think our draft is probably like the best thing. I think last time we kind of just did whatever, but this time we actually like took 5 minutes before the game to like say what we want to do, um, and then plan accordingly. We just wanted, ideally, we wanted because TMG Cone is known for playing tank, so we either will take it from him or force him on bruisers. Shout out to TMG Cone.
Yeah. Cohen should have won that game 3. Unfortunate top week roll.
Hmm.
I would say that this series in particular, no flame to enemy support, but Cray was cooking today.
Yeah, Cray was going completely crazy today. I
AKA
completely agree.
AKA codename Black. So yeah, he should have been, in my opinion, he's MVP of the series, but can go to anyone.
I completely agree. I mean, like sometimes you don't really feel support, but like that series, it felt like not only were like the picks executed well, like sometimes you just don't see supports like play Ali Rel and then like Maokai Leona well, but he just like did exactly what he needed to do. And then the Amumu game in particular, he had several like really massive engages. Though I do think Kite, you had a very strong and solid series for yourself as well. How do you feel about how bot lane went today, and how do you feel like your team is doing as you guys are now progressing into finals? How do you guys think you guys are going to prepare for that?
Um, well, we're probably not sure who we play first, right? Because there's has the losers bracket, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty confident. Um, I think even in like counter picks, like we're cool that always blind bot because we can always neutralize the lane. We're confident in doing that. So that's why we give our top side mid lane counter picks. And that's usually how we like to draft. Yeah, we just continue doing that, and I think we should win.
And as the coach, what are you thinking? What are the sort of the things that you would like to focus on moving on from a series like this? I know sometimes when everything's going right, there's, sometimes doesn't feel like there's much to do other than just to kind of continue with the same preparation you've been doing. How do you think you can move the team forward in a way that prepares them best for the finals?
Yeah, it's I think everyone just needs to play solo queue, you know, get on tip top shape. I will say one thing why team has been playing better is because of our jungler. Uh there was like a 2 to 3 week stretch where he was having a rough time because he was playing in like 10,000 leagues at once, which he should never do. So yeah, I think once he stopped playing like 10,000 leagues and solely played this league, he's been playing a lot better
Mm-hmm.
and finally picking like what he wants, more or less.
It was cool to see him play basically three different, very different styles of champions today, like going from Gwen, then to Malphite, then to Udyr. All these champions have, I think, pretty different ways that they want to actually approach the game. Some of them he seemed like he had to do a little more than others in them. The Gwen game, like he and Zaheen were definitely the star of the show. The Malphite game was just kind of like press R, job done, just be in the right place in the right time. And the Udyr game is pretty chill too. But he definitely felt like, along with your mid laner, they did a good job of just filling in the gaps in the right places.
Yep. I would say Theo, who is our jungler, did a pretty good job just coordinating on the map and pathing at the right time, I would say, which was kind of a struggle during the 2 to 3 week stretch from what I saw.
Mhm.
When,
For the teams that are remaining, are
we
there
were-
any teams that the two of you might want to like face more than any of the other teams?
Yeah, this guy Batch wants revenge on what are their names? TDK, Team Death Knights Blue.
Mhm.
Yeah, they want revenge on them. So hopefully they make a losers bracket run.
So that way you guys can just smash them in the finals, right?
That's what I'm saying.
For sure. Okay, so do you guys have any other things that you'd like to talk about as far as the series goes?
I think that's it. Just shout out to all our subs. We have like 8-man roster. People who are willing to play when y'all have scheduling issues, like Tango, obviously Duam, our coach, and then Fluke for being able to play like every role. It's really easy for us to have scheduling things. So
I
that's it.
actually do just want to ask, like in a joking sense, now that you're mentioning Fluke, what were the comms like when he's like 07? Like, obviously, it's a bit, you can like laugh about it now that it's happened, and like it's probably not like you're not attacking him in game for it by any means,
So
but it is funny to
his-
like look top and see what's happening.
So it's level 3 or 4 def was just all his fault. And then after that, he was just like, well, I'm gonna die for stacks.
Right.
Every time he
exactly.
died, it's like,
yeah, with
every
our
time he
game,
died,
we were
he said
pretty chill
work.
about it. We were
Yeah.
pretty chill about it. Like, I mean, the whole time I was just asking, oh, am I gonna be able to kill this Cassante eventually? Because he's like obviously stacking armor in the head, but I was obviously able to get ahead and kill him. But we're not worried because he's like getting just free stacks, and there's no way they're gonna win if we're allowed to scale like that.
Mm-hmm. It was like hilarious for me when I'm like watching. He's like 1-7 after his team like helped him get a kill on the Cassante. He rolls up to a team fight, and then Kratok gets a massive Amumu ultimate, and then the 1-7 Smolders hits a
Yeah.
quadra kill. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I love Fluke, but poor Cone, man. I've been there before, getting 3 kills on Cassante, and then your team's just losing because, I mean, low-key bot gap. So,
Mhm. And sometimes it's tough too,
Yeah,
like
it's
especially
rough.
with top, it just feels like the game is happening away from you, and you don't get to use your lead. Yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
it was rough.
And then like even when Cassante was up like 5-0 in turret plates, like I was pressing the gold, and like he was up like 1.5k, but then like Kite is up like 3k, so it just kind of didn't really even matter as much as it felt like it should have. But yeah. With that being said, I know you kind of already said your shout out to your subs, but this is the point in the interview where I just let you guys say anything else that you'd like to the Metashift community or anyone else.
Yeah, thanks Metashift. Thanks all the production team for hosting a great league. Super chill league. I like this league more than any other leagues just because it's super chill, super relaxed, and like the scheduling thing. So shout out to Metashift.
Yeah, shout out to Metashift. One suggestion, and it's pretty biased because we won the winners bracket. Next split, maybe there should be like a bigger incentive for winners bracket, as in like maybe you make it a BO7 with one game going to the winner side, so that you know there's an advantage in the winners bracket. But obviously we're biased. But that's for next split anyway, not this split. This
For
split,
sure.
everything's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. Stuff to think about. Next split will be interesting anyway. A lot of changes coming. But anyway, that's all for me. So thank you guys once again for the short interview, and congratulations on winning today and making the finals. I am looking forward to shoutcasting your guys' next game, and good luck in your preparations.
All right. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Good night, fellas. Okay, everyone. Once again, that was the victorious Kite and Dwami Poppy of the victorious Akreyma Clubhouse. Congratulations to them once again for making the finals and for being able to shut down the TMG Paladins, who are going to have to go on their own losers bracket run in order to try to make it there. I have been your host, Mackie. It has been my pleasure to shoutcast for you all tonight, and it was a fun series, especially that first game, to cast at the very least. And that's all for me and Metashift for tonight. That's going to be the end of our Noble League cast in this Fearless Best of 5. I will be back at the very least with the finals of the Noble League. We'll see if I have the ability to be able to cast later this weekend for another one of our playoff games that we have up and coming. But with all that being said, thank you once again to the Metashift community and anyone else who might be listening or might be listening later. Good luck on the Rift, and good night.